The Maison Domino would become an objet type for Le Corbusier, an inaugural diagram that would allow him to develop a number of houses in and around Paris. Looking at a few of the villas of Le Corbusier will allow us to further articulate the interaction of new technology with the historical continuity of the discipline of architecture. The first of these we'll look at is the Villa La Roche Jeanneret. There was a planned development in an area of Paris that made the site very attractive because the plan was that a number of houses would be built on the same site. Le Corbusier was acting on behalf of the clients to negotiate an acquisition of a property in which he could build two houses for two families, kind of twins that would be bridged by a common gallery. In the end, he was not able to obtain the pair of lots he wanted that would make a symmetrical entry. So he ended up, rather than designing a U-shaped scheme, he ended up with an L shape with an extended wing on the right side of the street. And what would have been the bridge, or what would have been this cross wing, now became a gallery raised up off the ground on columns, or what he called pilotis, and whose elevation he treated as a kind of terminus of the cul-de-sac. You approach the building toward this curved surface, and then you turn 90 degrees to the right to enter the La Roche house into a 3-story hallway, a prism that has an area nearly equal to all the other major living spaces combined. So visitors come into this big entry hallway, then they mount a stairway at the far corner of the hall. Coming up the stairway, at the very top is a balcony, and you're immediately, as you reach the top of the stair, you're oriented back to the space of the entry hall, to the open space of the entry hall from where you have just come, as well as to other apertures, windows, and passages that punctuate through the walls of the entry hall. From there, you can choose a number of different paths that take you to further moments of stasis. You come to the top of the stair, you pause. You move along a different path, and you pause again, either at a balcony or an aperture or in a window. You can also move into the main gallery with its curved front, which is on the primary floor, that is the first floor above the ground, since it's been raised on pilotis. Now, this gallery was intended for the display of paintings that had been collected by La Roche, the owner. It's a 2-story space, as I say, raised 1 story off the ground. On the main floor, there's a ramp rising slowly along the curve of the gallery's long wall. This is the same wall that is the elevation of the entry court. At the bottom of that ramp is another balcony that this time punches through the exterior wall to take you to the outside. From that balcony, you can sort of survey the whole project, the elevation that would be to your left, as well as the curved wall, as well as the entry court itself. Now, walking up the ramp, we get a kind of cinematic experience of the gallery. It's like one long, uninterrupted shot of the abstract geometry and structure of that space. And then finally, when we reach the top of that, yet another balcony flanked by 2 long horizontal windows that afford a view out on both sides now of the building. Every view of the geometry and the compositional features of the house must be taken in as a result of movement through the spaces and movement through walls, through surfaces, and around figures and walls. The motion is choreographed with extreme care in a narrative of pure form. The house is perceived as a geometrical construction by walking through and around the main space in a process of rotation through the space. Then there are moments of pause in this movement that are usually designated either by a balcony at a handrail at which you come to rest, or perhaps by an aperture or a window where you come and register your body and measure it in that aperture, that creates these moments of stasis. At these moments of stasis, one looks across the space, usually at walls or other surfaces, in a frontal way. So the moments of stasis establish a perception of frontality. This dialectic of rotation and frontality, or movement and stasis, is one of the themes that is definitive for the villas. Now, there are two kinds of what we might even think of as knowledge or as information that's produced by this dialectic. Frontality is normally perceived at a distance, at a prospect. It might be something that you scan, but usually you're looking at it in a kind of perspective that produces pictorial space. Now, pictorial space is a space that's very like that in Le Corbusier's painting, is space that cannot be entered or circulated through. It's rather viewed from a distance, assigned to frontality, and it gives order to that frontal sensation. Now, against this, Corbusier stages a different kind of experience, and it produces a different kind of knowledge or a different kind of information that one can only have by being close up to things, close to the wall, close to the aperture, at the sill of the window, at the handrail of the balcony. So it's close up, and it requires movement and rotation through and around space. So again, the dialectic of frontality and rotation combine to produce a kind of spatial and formal knowledge, combine to produce architectural information in the architectural imaginary, combine to produce a concept of the architecture. While at Villa La Roche, Le Corbusier was able to explore some of the properties of the Domino diagram, like the use of the reinforced concrete system, the horizontal slabs, which allowed a kind of free arrangement of program and circulation, the non-load-bearing wall, the relationship of the earth, where he explored raising some of the rooms on pilotis. He wasn't able to fully explore all of the Domino system. What he found, however, in addition to that, was a way of supplementing the system with a kind of formal vocabulary for architecture. He discovered that the objectifs in his paintings, the bottles, the plates, the contours of the guitar, the kind of everyday objects that he thought provided such affect and such deep sensation when experienced visually, he made analogues of those objectifs in the architecture, the balconies, the apertures, the curvilinear surfaces. These became an architectural vocabulary that was analogous to the objectif in the paintings and supplemented the objectif of the Domino system itself.